Red lamp flickers over my glass tonight. Whiskey sweating down his neck like a tired apology. A hostess in a velvet dress leans on the bar, drawing slow circles on the counter with a cigarette ash. Someone drops a game token in the jukebox machine, and the blues crawls out like an old friend on bad legs. I feel my shadow stretch across the smoky floor, following the scent of a promise I once believed. Sways like a memory I shouldn't touch. Tenor sax wails from the corner, bleeding gold. Her eyes catch mine through the haze, and for a heartbeat we share the same broken night. Under this red lamp glow, watching yesterday spill down the rim of my dream. If you ask me why I'm still here, I'll whisper, it's the only place my heart sounds true. Bartender wipes the counter slow, as if he's seen every love drown in this room. Couples sway with cigarettes between their fingers, dancing like secrets that learn to breathe. I take one more sip of the bitter truth, letting it bite the back of my throat. Her perfume brushes past me again, and I hear her laugh tumble like a soft betrayal. The jukebox hums like a lonely engine, calling out names no one answers. She glances over, lips red as warning signs, and I feel the night pull tighter around us. Oh, I'm losing myself under this red lamp glow, watching yesterday spill down the rim of my drink. If you ask me why I'm still here, I'll whisper, it's the only place my heart sounds true. Maybe tomorrow I'll walk into the daylight, but tonight I need the sax to tell my story. Let it cry for the things I bury, let it sing for the things I can't name. So I'm staying right here under the red lamp glow, letting this old blues carve its mark on me. If you listen close, you'll hear my truth. Some hearts only beat in the dark. The ashtrays full of promises we never meant. Filters like white flags buried in gray snow. She leaned by the doorway with her heels half off, lipstick fading at the edge of a tired smile. The jukebox calls and spins another scratchy dream. Tenor sax crying from a corner full of ghosts. My coat hangs heavy on the back of this chair, like it knows I'm not ready to leave the night. The neon sign outside keeps blinking open, but even the moon looks ready to close. She asks if I'm waiting for somebody. I say yeah, for a version of me that never left. This is my last cigarette before dawn, but I've been saying that for 1,000 nights. Every drag writes her name into my lungs, and every exhale draws her farther away. The bartender stacks clean glasses like new chances. I watch them shine and know I won't take one. Her laugh skips across the room like a dropped coin, rolling under tables where old regrets hide. Somebody feeds another token to the blues, and the sax bends low like it's bowing to our sins. I press the filter to my lips once more, chasing a fire that never really warmed me. The clock above the bar keeps lying, saying time moves on, and I know it doesn't hear. She looks at me like a question mark in red, and I'm just an answer no one wants to hear. This is my last cigarette before dawn, but I've been saying that for 1,000 nights. Every drag writes her name into my lungs, and every exhale draws her farther away. If I crush this smoke and really walk out, will the sky remember how to be blue for me? Or will I find another bar, another lamp, another lie that feels just like home? So here's my last cigarette before dawn, glowing like a tiny useless star in my hand. If you see the sun before I do, tell it I'm still learning how to leave. She walks in with a neon on her shoulders, pink and blue dripping down her back like rain. Her dress catches every jealous eye in the room, but she only looks for the empty stool beside me. Tenor sax sighs through a cloud of smoke, drawing silver lines around her silhouette. I move my glass to make a place for a purse, and the night quietly rearranges itself. The perfume tastes like cherry, bad decisions floating above the stale beer and cheap cologne. She's says you look like a man who knows midnight. I say I look like a man who never left it. Neon on her shoulders, shadows on her smile. We're two tired hearts pretending it's our first time. If love is real, it must be hiding in this bar, between the jukebox hum and the tenor sax cry. She traces circles on the rim of her glass, like she's trying to hypnotize her own reflection. We trade stories that sound almost true, sanding down the sharp edges with laughter. Couples dance on the floor, sticky with memories. Heels tapping out old blues Morse code. She leans closer, voice slow and rough, asking if I believe in second nights. The bartender pretends not to listen, polishing the same glass for the 10th time. Outside the rain erases street names. Inside we rename our loneliness fate. Neon on her shoulders, shadows on her smile. We're two tired hearts pretending it's our first time. If love is real, it must be hiding in this bar, between the jukebox hum and the tenor sax cry. If morning ever finds us here together, will it forgive the lies we told tonight? Or will daylight peel the neon off her shoulders and leave us strangers in a too bright room? Neon on her shoulders, my hand on her glass. For one more song we'll believe we're brand new. If this is borrowed time from tomorrow, let the sax play loud enough to drown the bill. Drop a cold token in the jukebox mouth. Hear it clatter down like a small confession. The same old song crawls out of the speakers, wearing yesterday's suit and a tired grin. Dinner the sax bends the notes like rusted hinges, opening doors I swore I'd nailed shut. The hostess winks, already knows my choice. She's seen me spin this night too many times. The light above the machine flickers like it's bored of my predictable sins. But the room still hushes at the first long note, as if we all owe this song some kind of debt. Just one more token for the same old song. I keep paying the blues to remember me. If moving on was really that easy, this machine would be out of business by now. A couple in the back shares a stolen kiss. Their shadows dancing on the peeling wallpaper. The bartender smiles with half his mouth, slides my drink over like a practice ritual. I stare at the spinning record inside the box, watching my past go round and round. The sax cries on cue, faithful as a dog, licking the wounds I never let heal. Some nights I think I'll pick a different track, let a happy tune stumble through this smoke. But my fingers always find the same buttons, like they're wired straight to my regrets. Just one more token for the same old song. I keep paying the blues to remember me. If moving on was really that easy, this machine would be out of business by now. If I ever walk in here and choose silence, leave my token sleeping in my palm, maybe that will be the day I've changed, or the day I've forgotten who I am. So here it is, another token in the slot, another night renting the same old pain. As long as that sax keeps crying my story, I guess I'll keep feeding it my spare chain. whiskey for two out of habit, but the stool beside me stays politely empty. The bartender doesn't even raise a brow. He's learned my ghost by name. Tenor sax moans from near the stage light. Pain in the bar and slow golden bruises. The extra glass sweats on the counter like it's nervous about being alone. I pull her old cigarette case from my pocket, still smelling like that last goodbye. The room leans in to hear my silence. Chairs creak like they're offering advice. Whiskey for two, chair for one. I keep toasting a shadow that never drinks. If love was really sitting next to me, it slipped out the door when I blinked. A hostess in red passes by slow, tracing my shoulder with a perfume trail. She asked if I'm saving that seat for someone. I say yeah, for the man I was with her. The jukebox hums like a tired witness, spinning stories it's too old to judge. The sax climbs up into a wounded high note, then sinks down where my heart already waits. The ice in our untouched glass cracks like it's breaking under the weight of memory. I raise my drink toward the empty stool, and the whole room looks away politely. Whiskey for two, chair for one. I keep toasting a shadow that never drinks. If love was really sitting next to me, it slipped out the door when I blinked. Someday I'll order just one glass and mean it with my old shaking hand. But not tonight, not under this yellow light, not while her laughter still echoes off the walls. Whiskey for two, chair for one. I'm sharing a drink with a vanished life. If you ask why I buy for a ghost, cheaper than saying goodbye.
The floor sticks to the sole of my shoe. A mosaic of spilled drink and second thought. Couples sway where the tiles are worn thin, sanding their guilt down with every slow turn. The tenor sax leads them like a tired preacher, blessing each spin with a minor key side. Hostess laughs as she pulls a stranger closer, her earrings swinging like tiny silver lights. The ceiling fan chops the smoke in lazy circles, keeping our sins comfortably airborne. She catches my eye and tilts her head, asking if my feet remember how to forget. On this dance floor made of regrets, we slide on promises that never kept us. Hold me like you don't know my story, and I'll dance like tomorrow doesn't exist. Step out, let the rhythm grab my collar. Her hand warm and dangerous in mine. Her dress whispers secrets against my knees, sketching apologies I haven't earned. The jukebox pumps out old heartbreak, every drum hit a pulse from another era. The sax curls around us like a slow question, waiting to see if we answer with a kiss. The bartender watches with a knowing smirk, wiping the same wet circle on the bar. You've seen us all out here in circles, wearing holes in the places we should have left. On this dance floor made of regret, we slide on promises that never kept us. On this dance floor made of regrets, we slide on promises that never kept us. Hold me like you don't know my story, and I'll dance like tomorrow doesn't exist. If the lights came up all at once, we'd see the stains we've been gliding over. But as long as the sax keeps the room in shadow, we can call this mess romance. One more time on this dance floor made of regrets, I'll borrow your heartbeat for one last song.
sits where the light doesn't quite reach. Fedora brim carving his face in half. Cards in his hand, drink by his elbow. Smoke climbing from his lips like rumors. The tenor sax drapes over his shoulders, a worn-out coat of borrowed sorrow. No one knows his name, but everybody guesses, taking quiet bets with their eyes. The dealer shuffles another round of chances, chips clacking like restless teeth. He throws in without looking, as if he's folding more than cards. He's just a shadow in a fedora, living 3 steps left of the light. If you ask what brought him here, the blues will answer before he does. A hostess in silk leans on his chair, tracing the sweat ring on his glass. She says you could dance instead of losing. He smiles like a cracking old leather. The jukebox spits out another deep cut, and the sax pleads for mercy on his behalf. He taps the table in sync with the snare, keeping time with a heart of beat. He wins a hand he didn't want, chips sliding toward him like unwanted praise. He tips his hat to the ceiling fan, whispers something only the smoke can hear. He's just a shadow in a fedora, living 3 steps left of the light. If you ask what brought him here, the blues will answer before he does. Maybe he once danced under clean skies, without a roof of neon and regret. But whatever name he had back then, he traded it for this corner seat. So leave the shadow in the fedora be. He's paid his cover with every breath. As long as the sax keeps telling his story, he doesn't need a last name tonight.
The tip jar sits by the mic like a church plate, stuffed with crumpled bills and folded secrets. Some say thank days and some say sorry, written in shaky ink on diner napkins. The tenor sax player nods between phrases, reading our sins between the notes. Every coin drops with a tiny verdict, echoing inside the glass hollow. The hostess kisses $1 before she lets it go. Says it's for the song that saved her once. The bartender has his own quiet offering for all the nights he watched in silence. These are tip jar confessions, small payments for the weight we carry. We can't afford redemption at full price, so we buy it one blues chorus at a time. A man in a wrinkled suit drops in a five, murmurs a name no one else hears. A woman leaves a 10 with smeared lipstick, like she kissed the corner of the bill goodbye. The jukebox rests while the live band breathes, letting the room hear its own heartbeat. The sax curls around our quiet donations, turning loose change into something holy. He plays softer when the jar fills, slow, louder when the night grows heavy. We're not clapping for skill alone, we're paying someone to say what we can. These are tip jar confessions, small payments for the weight we carry. We can't afford redemption at full price, so we buy it one blues chorus at a time. If you broke this jar and read every note, you'd know the whole town by their trembling hands. But the glass stays whole and the secrets stay folded, and the sax plays like it's heard them all. So pass the jar and pass the night, let our wrinkled bills learn how to sing. We'll leave lighter than we walked in, even if our troubles cost more than we paid. Either tip jar confessions, small payments for the weight we carry. We can't afford redemption at full price, so we buy it one blues chorus at a time.
There's a quarter moon stamped on the window, pressed there by some distant careless guy. Inside the light is all man-made and tired, amber bowls buzzing like old bees. Tenor sax floats up to meet that moon, notes fogging the glass from the inside out. I sit where I can watch them both, heaven's loose change in this bar's credit. She slides in with a tray of empty glasses, innocent reflections of strangers' faces. Says, funny how the moon never tips. I laugh and nearly spill my drink with a quarter moon above the bar. We drink like we're owed more light than this. If the stars are watching, they keep it to themselves, while the blues tells us everything we should know. Outside a taxi coughs and limps away, taking someone's last chance with it. Inside the jukebox wakes from its nap, stretching into another lonely tune. The sax rides on top, silver and wounded, threading through the chattering clinks. She rests her tray and leans on my table, asking if I ever wished on something so cheap. I point at the moon smudged on the glass, say I've been living on change for years. She smiles like she's heard that line before, but stays long enough to prove she likes it, with a quarter moon above the bar. We drink like we're owed more light than this. If the stars are watching, they keep it to themselves, while the blues tells us everything we should know. Maybe when the moon is full again, I'll be brave enough to leave this stool. But tonight I'm just one more orbiting soul, pulled by gravity in a whiskey glass. So let that quarter moon hang crooked. We'll stay until it slips out of sight. As long as the sax can reach that window, we'll pretend the universe is listening in. Fans a stack of chips between her fingers, colored circles of almost luck. The card table glows under a green lamp, like money's own little altar. Tin of sacks drifts over from the bar, softening the edges of every bad bit. She looks at me with dealer's eyes, calculating what I'm worth in one long glance. I push my last chip to the center, but it's not the only thing I'm risking. Her smile curves like a loaded question, asking if I know the odds on love. Don't cash my heart tonight. I'm already overdrawn in every way that counts. Deal me another hand, or maybe let the blues keep track of what I owe. Oh, hell. The bartender calls last round with a nod, but nobody moved from their private ward. She flips the river card, slow and cruel, turns my hopes into just another story. The jukebox clicks and changes records, sack stepping in like a sympathetic lawyer. She rakes the chips with delicate fingers, then slides one back toward my side. Keep this, she says, for another night. And it feels heavier than the whole pile before. I tuck it in beside my house keys, like a promise I'm not ready to spend. Don't cash my heart tonight. I'm already overdrawn in every way that counts. Deal me another hand, or maybe let the blues keep track of what I owe. Someday I'll sit at this table clean. No debts, no ghosts, just cards and chance. Till I can play without shaking. Keep my heart off the fair, out of your pot. So don't cash my heart tonight. Let it ride on the sax and the smoke. Love is really in this room somewhere. It can wait until learn the rules. A torn book of matches waits by my hand. The logo of this bar fading like last year's vows. Her number scribbled on a cardboard flap, smudged where my thumb kept reading it twice. The tenor sax leans against the ceiling, smoke dragging each note like a reluctant goodbye. The bartender lights a candle near the rail, as if the dog needs help finishing us off. She left before the band took their first break, coat on her arm, no promise in her eyes. All she forgot was this little pack of fire and the echo of her laugh in my dream. I got matches on the bar rail, and nothing left that's worth burning Judgment Day. A hostess taps a pack with painted nails, asks if I'm saving them for something big. I say, just in case the past comes back cold. She hums like she's heard that one before. The jukebox waits its turn in the corner, but tonight the band gets all the praise. The sax curls around my untouched whiskey, trying to talk me out of lighting the wrong thing. I flip the flap open and close like I'm testing the hinge on a decision. Her name blurs under the yellow lamp, but the hurt is still printed sharp. I got matches on the bar rail. Yeah. Nothing left that's worth burning down. If I strike one for every time I miss her, this whole place would glow like Judgment Day. Maybe I'll walk a number to the alley, let the wind read it one last time, then watch it curl into a tiny orange flower and call that my first honest goodbye. So leave the matches on the bar rail. They're the only flame I can still control, till the sax plays softer and my hands stop shaking. I'll keep the past unlit but close. There's a velvet curtain near the back door, where the staff slips through like ghosts on break. She disappears behind it every hour, coming back with a smile one shade more tired. Tenor sax reaches all the way there, threads of sound tugging at the fabric. I sit where I can see it sway, wondering what she hides between songs. Her name tag shines under cheap brass light, but I call her something else in my head. To me, she's the girl who knows both sides, front of house glamour
backroom truth. There's velvet behind the curtain, softer than the story she never tells. If I ever slip through after her, I'd owe the blues more than I could pay. She sets my drink down with a practiced flourish, balancing charm on the edge of exhaustion. Glitter clings to her cheek like late confetti from parties that ended years too late. The jukebox blinks but doesn't complain, sharing its corner with old coats and secrets. The sax bends low, brushing the floorboards, searching for whatever she drops when she laughs. Sometimes the curtain breathes out smoke, sometimes a shout, sometimes nothing at all. She steps through every time with new eyes, and I wish I didn't notice the difference. There's velvet behind the curtain, softer than the story she never tells. If I ever slip through after her, I'd owe the blues more than I could pay. Maybe there's just boxes and busted lights, no mystery, just storage and dust. But in a life this small and dim, a curtain is as good as a portal. So I stay on my side of the velvet, let her keep whatever world she needs, as long as she walks back into this noise, bringing the scent of somewhere else. I'll stay.
Down the narrow hall, past the restrooms, there's a payphone humming beside the ice. The floor is colder there, less forgiving, where drunk promises stumble to be dialed. Tenor sax echoes faint through the drywall, leaking comfort into that lonely corner. I stand with a nickel sweating in my palm, trying to remember a number I shouldn't call. The ice machine coughs like an old engine, spitting cubes into a plastic bin. I lift the receiver, hear the ocean of dial tone, louder than anything in the main room. At the payphone by the ice machine, I bargained with a ghost on the other end. If she answers, I'll lie and say I'm fine. If she doesn't, I'll blame it on the blues. Someone scribbled names on the store door, left a trail of broken hearts in ink. I read them while the rings go nowhere, feeling my own name, trying to join the list. Back at the bar, they're laughing too loud, covering sins with borrowed joy. The sax reaches me like a distant whistle, calling me back from something stupid. I hang up just before it connects, let the coin drop like a tiny surrender. The ice machine shivers at my back, and I breathe out what I didn't say. At the payphone by the ice machine, I bargained with a ghost on the other end. If she answers, I'll lie and say I'm fine. If she doesn't, I'll blame it on the blues. One day they'll rip this phone from the wall, say nobody calls like that anymore. But some of us still need a hallway and a dial, just to practice letting go. So leave the payphone by the ice machine for cowards like me and the nearly brave. As long as I can hear that sax through the plaster, I'll hang up before I hurt us both. The floor is black and white, checkerboard, but nothing here is that simple. Her heels tap crimson patterns on the tiles, drawing routes to places I can't afford. The tenor sax marks time from the bandstand, each note a shuffle toward midnight. She glides between tables like a practiced illusion, never tripping even on broken hearts. Every step of hers sounds like a question, every pause She stops just short of my shadow, letting the tile choose it for me. Her heels on checkerboard tile, dancing between yes and no all night. If she lands on my square one more time, I might bet it all on blackout love. She carries a tray of glasses like a crown, balancing other people's escapes. When she laughs, the room changes color, like someone threw a switch inside the jukebox. The sax leans into sweet high plea, trying to catch up with the rhythm. I tap my finger where her foot just was, pretending the echo means something. The bartender winks when he sees us almost touch, wiping a ring where her heel just clicked. He knows it's bored, he's seen this game and still lets us play for free. Her heels on checkerboard tile, dancing between yes and no all night. If she lands on my square one more time, I might bet it all on blackout love. If the lights came up and the floor was plain, just squaring on us beneath our feet, will we still cross the room like this, or sit down where we are and stay? So let her heels keep spelling trouble in patterns I pretend I can't read, as long as the sax keeps playing referee. I lose myself one square at a time. I lose on her heels on, her heels on. Twist a little cardboard tag in my fingers, white ink faded on the number 52. My coat's been in the bag longer than I planned, collecting the smell of everyone else's nights. Tenor sax pours through the hallway gap like smoke trying to follow its own scent. The coat check girl yawns behind the counter, eyes ring with the hours nobody paid for. She says you always say you're leaving soon, then pins my ticket back with a smile. I shrug and tell her the usual lie, but this is really the last song. Cold check number 52, proof I once meant to go home on time. Every time I don't hand it back, I hang myself up in that dark little room. A couple stumbles in from the alley, laughing cold off their shoulders. She trades their numbers for Tangle sleeves, never asking what they did out there. The jukebox kicks another low moan forward in the sax, squeeze it like an accomplice. I tuck my tag into my empty wallet, where old plans and bad math live. She leans on the counter, chin in her palm, says some people never lose their number. I ask what happens when they finally do. She nods toward the bar and says, you'll see. Cold check number 52. Prove I once meant to go home on time. Every time I don't hand it back, I hang myself up in that dark little room. One night I'll slide this cardboard across, let her fetch the weight I carried in. Maybe I'll walk out before the sack starts, but not while my shoulders still feel bare. So keep my coat in the company of others, lonely sleeve pressed in the dark, until I'm ready to leave this version of me. Number 52, wait in the bag. Code check number 52. Proof I once meant to go home on time. Every time I don't hand it back, I hang myself up in that dark little room. Code check number. There's a perfect red crescent on my glass, lipstick left like a temporary signature. She laughed and said she didn't mind sharing, then left before the ice could finish melting. The tenor sax painted her exit in slow strokes. Every bend a question she didn't stay to hear. I turn the glass so her mark faces me, like I'm drinking from her ghost. The bartender pretends not to notice, but his smirk gives him away. He's seen tighter circles than this, drawn on rims that never met again. Lipstick on the glass rim, a bright goodbye on a dull night. If I follow the curve with my fingertip, I can almost remember why she came. A slow dance blooms near the tiny stage, bodies swaying like soft excuses. I sit anchored to my bar stool fate, letting her color steer my thoughts. The jukebox red
chorus while the band exhales. Sax rising and falling like someone's breath. Her laugh lingers in the scratches of the record, caught between dust and melody. I raise the glass in her absent direction, toast a corner of the room she once filled. The stain kisses my lower lip on the sill, mixing her memory with my habits. Lipstick on the glass rim, bright goodbye on a dull night. If I follow the curve with my fingertip, I can almost remember why she came. Soon the busboy will clear this spot, scrub her shade into a gray blur. But for now it's my borrowed piece of color in a life lived mostly in brown. So leave the lipstick on the glass rim, don't polish away what's left of her. When the sax sighs low and the lights dim further, I'll finish the drink and let her go. Between sets, the back door cracks open, spilling music into a narrow alley. The air out here smells like wet brick and freedom, a different kind of smoke than inside. Tenor sax still bleeds through the wall, muffled like a secret under a coat. She leans against the metal steps, shoes off, stockings, complaining quietly. She offers me a match and half a joke, says the stars hide better in the city. We share a silence that fits just right, like a jacket borrowed and not returned. In the back out between sets, where nobody's show, nobody's story. If we lean a little closer in the dark, the blues will keep its eyes politely closed. A distant siren drags along the avenue, but none of its urgency reaches us. She stretches her neck, rolls her shoulders, shaking the night's tips off her skin. Inside, chairs scraping ice refills, the bar resetting for another confession. Out here the brick wall holds our weight, and the door holds back everything else. She asks if I'll still be there when she's done. I say I practically live on that stool. She laughs like a loose button on a blouse, one tug away from coming home. I'm back out between sets, where nobody showed nobody's story. If we lean a little closer in the dark, the blues will keep its eyes politely closed. Count seeps through the crack, she slides her feet back into her night. We walk in separately like strangers again, leaving our almost behind with the trash can. So save me a breath in that thin cold air where names and roads don't matter. As long as the sax can find us through the bricks, we'll meet in the alley between sets. In the back alley between sets. In the back alley between sets. Ashtray on my table's overflowing. Filters like tombstones in a tiny graveyard. Each one has a name I don't say out loud. Ex-lovers, half-friends, versions of me. Tenor sax brushes ash off the edges, shaking loose ghosts with every run. A waitress taps the glass dish with a nail. Says she'll bring another if I need. Tell her I'm just quitting slowly. One more story per cigarette. She shrugs, used to lies with good manners, and fades into someone else's problem. This ashtray's full of names, burned down to the same gray ending. If I tip it into the trash tonight, we'll remember what I tried to forget. The jukebox flickers in the corner, picking up the slack
between sets. I crush another memory into the pie, watch it glow, then crumble quiet. At the next table they're talking future tense. White smiles and new plans gleaming. The sax cuts through like a gentle objection, reminding me some roads never clear. I stir the butts like a fortune teller, reading patterns in what's been wasted. Every line leads back to the same place. This bar, this night, this chair, this ashtray's full of names, burned down to the same gray ending. If I tip it into the trash tonight, who will remember what I tried to forget? One day I'll leave here with clean lungs, pockets empty of fire and excuses. Till then I'll let the sax do the breathing and keep my names where they can't talk back. So when you clear my table at closing, don't ask what all these ashes mean. Just know they once were choices and kisses. Now there's smoke the ceiling had to bear.
The jukebox wears a ring of dust and light, neon halo buzzing over its tied crown. Its chrome sides reflect crooked halos, borrowed from bottles and ceiling bows. Tenor sax climbs out of the speaker grills like an angel who learned to swear. A kid in a cheap suit feeds it a coin, eyes wide as if he's praying. He picks a track with a shaking finger, first heartbreak wrapped in Sunday shoes. The room doesn't turn to look, but it listens just the same. Under this jukebox halo, we worship songs instead of saints. If the blues forgives us by the last refrain, we'll lay our sins on spinning vinyl. face leans against the side, hip tapping softly with the bass. Someone's carved initials in the metal, love letters that outlive the sender. The sax solo pours like stained glass color, washing the cracked floor and broken beauty. I stand a little closer than I need to, warming my hands on old electricity. For a moment we're all the same age, listening like children at a bedtime door. Each note a soft knock from somewhere, kinda somewhere we almost remember. Under this jukebox halo, we worship songs instead of saints. If the blues forgives us by the last refrain, we'll lay our sins on spinning vinyl. When the track clicks off and the light hum fades, we go back to our seats and stories. But for 3 slow minutes and 12/8 time, we knew what mercy sounded like. So if you see me standing in that glow, eyes closed, glass forgotten in my hand, no, I'm just another lost believer, kneeling before a wounded song. Never check the clock in this place. Time moves stranger under low light. I only know it's late when chairs flip, legs pointing up like surrender flags. The tenor sax winds down to a whisper, last notes curling in on themselves. The bartender stacks clean ashtrays, calling 5 minutes in a gentle light. She wipes my spot with a tired rag, but leaves my glass right where it is. Says, you always look surprised at closing, like it wasn't written all over the room. It's closing time without a watch. I measure hours in empty bottles when the lights rise. Harsher than truth, I see every wrinkle the dark was hiding. Last couple peels off a dance floor, looking too sober on the brighter bowl. A stray token rolls across the planks, stopping in my shoe like a question. The jukebox sighs and shutters silent, free at last from my constant begging. The sash leans quiet against his case, sleeping with his mouth still open. I push my stool in like I might not return, but my hands don't quite believe it. The door yawns into the chill street, and the neon blinks a slow goodnight. It's closing time without a watch. I measure hours in empty bottles when the lights rise. Harsher than truth, I see every wrinkle the dark was hiding. Someday I'll leave before the first chair flips. Step out while the music is still mid-side. Till then I'll let the staff sweep around me. Treat me like one more stubborn stain. So lock the door behind my shadow. I'll collect it when the band returns. Time can tick. However it wants out there in here, I live between last call and the blue, and the blue, and the
There's a booth in the blind spot of the bar where the light gives up before it lands. Red vinyl seats cracked at the seams, stuff and peeking out like old secrets. The tenor sax can barely reach this corner, just a thin ribbon of sound on the air. I sit where the waitress forgets to look, and the world forgets to call my name. She spots me only when the tray is light, when every other table's drunk and loud. Says you always pick the hiding places. I shrug and say they usually pick me. In this booth, in the blind spot, I watch the night without being seen. If I vanish between the cushions, only the blues will notice I'm gone. Couples pass by on their way to the floor, shadows sliding across my half-finished drink. Their perfume and cologne mix in the air, like arguments waiting for a hallway. The jukebox throws its voice down the aisle, but the sax carries the hurt between the notes. I trace circles in a ring of spilled beer, drawing maps to know where I've already been. She tops off my glass with a sideways smile, sets an extra napkin like a quiet truce. Says, you know the front row is chairs too. I say some of us are built for shadows. In this booth, in the blind spot, I watch the night without being seen. If I vanish between the cushions, only the blues will notice I'm gone. One day I'll sit where the spotlight leaks, let the room draw lines around my shape. Till then I'll share this dark upholstery with a ghost too shy for center stage. So leave this booth right where it is, a small escape from the neon truth. As long as the saps can find my ears, I don't mind being off the map.
Blue chalk dust stains my fingertips, evidence of bedside shouldn't make. The pool table glows under a hanging lamp. Green felt like a quiet hunting ground. Tenor sax drifts from the main room, curling around a clack of colliding balls. She leans on her cue like a verdict, eyes sharp enough to cut the smoke. She says loser buys the next round, and I'm already halfway to thirsty. The brakes scatter stripes and solids like our excuses across the night. Chalk on my fingers,
ooh, chalk on my fingers.
Bad ideas on my tongue,
bad ideas on my tongue.
If I sink this shot, I'll stay a little longer. If I miss, I'll blame it on the blues. She bends over the table with slow precision, lining up a future I can't control. The lamp paints a halo on her shoulders, but her grin is pure mischief and teeth. The jukebox times the game with backbeat, while the sax solos for whoever's losing. I wipe my palms on a borrowed courage and aim at something I might regret. She calls the corner pocket like a prophecy, and the ball obeys without complaint. Double or nothing, she teases, and I'm fresh out of nothing left to give. Pull chalk on my fingers,
Ooh, chalk on my fingers.
bad ideas on my tongue,
Bad ideas on my tongue.
If I sink this shot, I'll stay a little longer. If I miss, I'll blame it on the blues. Someday I'll walk past this table clean, hands unmarked by powder and wrist. But tonight the cue fits easy in my grip, and her laughter racks the balls again. So let the lamp swing and shadows bend. We'll play the last call, forgets our names. As long as the sax sweeps over this felt, I'll keep chalking lines I can't quite cross. Pull chalk on my fingers,
Ooh, chalk on my fingers. Bad ideas on my tongue.
She walks the room with a tray on a strap, cigarettes lined like tiny white soldiers, matchbooks, gum, and borrowed fire, all balanced on her narrow hips. The tenor sax trails behind her path, a lazy parade of sultry notes. Every man she passes straightens his tie, like hope still fits around his throat. She snaps her case open with a practiced click, paper and tobacco, chance and habit. Says got a light or need one. I say I'm already burning, darling. Cigarette girl parade, you march through our lonely trenches. We trade coins for something to hold and pretend it's not ourselves on fire. Her stockings catch the glow of table lamps, a flicker of promise on every step. She remembers who smokes what brand, like a priest memorizing sins. The jukebox bows out for the live band, and the sax lifts her silhouette higher. I buy a pack I don't need yet, just to keep her standing by my chair. She tucks the bill into her garter line, a secret drawer beneath her smile says, careful, these things are addicting. And I don't ask if she means the smokes. Cigarette girl parade, you march through our lonely trenches. We trade coins for something to hold and pretend it's not ourselves on fire. She'll hang up that tray for good, leave this haze for cleaner air. Some of us will still be here coughing, waiting for a different girl with the same job. So keep circling these worn out tables, Queen of paper flames and sidelong looks. As long as the sass can follow your route, we'll buy or want the stick at a time.
There's a long mirror behind the bottles, showing twice as many lives as fit inside. Labels face forward like polite lies, hide in the dust on their backs. Tenor sax bounces off the glass, doubling every ache it carries. I catch my reflection between two brands, looking like a man someone else invented. The bartender moves through my ghost, stacking clean glasses in my chest. Says you're staring at the past or the future. I say whichever one looks more drunk. In the mirror behind the bottles, I see the man I dream to forget. If I tilt my glass just right, he blurs into someone I almost forget. She appears over my shoulder without warning, face small and bright between amber shapes. Her eyes read me backwards in the glass. Left and right, swap like truth and story. The jukebox hums low, waiting its turn, while the sax paints halos on our heads. For a second we look like we belong here, a pair of regulars in some kind of script. She traces a circle on my reflected arm, finger leaving no mark on the real thing. Says you look better from this angle, and the man in the mirror almost smiles. In the
I see the man I drink to forget. If I tilt my glass just right, he blurs into someone I almost forgive. Someday I'll catch that stranger off guard, walk away before he raises his glass. But tonight I'll toast the tired imposter and let the sax translate between us. So leave that mirror where it is, a thin bright light, visit nightly. As long as the bottles stand between, I can live with what I see in the mirror behind the bottles. I see the man I drink to forget. If I tilt my glass just right, he blurs into someone I almost forgive. The front door sways, lit around his frame. Little river sneaking onto the floor. Coats hang heavy on the crowded rack, dripping yesterday into today's mess. Tenor sax plays weather inside the room. Storm of notes under a dry roof. She stamps the water off her heels, bringing street light and thunder to the bar. Her umbrella blooms against the wall, the dark flower folding into itself. She sighs like she walked out on the sky and halfway changed her mind. There's rain in the doorway, but in here we drown a different way. If the streets wash our footprints clean, the blues will keep the ones we leave on this floor. Windows blur the city into watercolor, neon running down like cheap mascara. The jukebox sounds warm against the storm, vinyl crackle cozy as an old blanket. She sits with her back to the glass, refusing to watch her world trip away. The sax leans into a long, low moan, like a train that never left the station. I slide my napkin toward the puddle at her feet, a small, soggy act of mercy. She nods without looking, eyes fixed on a trembling dream. There's rain in the doorway, but in here we drown a different way. If the streets wash our footprints clean, the blues will keep the ones we leave on this floor. When the clouds finally empty themselves and the gut
better stop speaking in tongues. We'll step outside, lighter but not clean, carrying inside whether the sky can't see. So let the storm lean on the door tonight. This room can show to one more way, as long as the sax keeps singing dry. We'll survive another flooded evening.
Cables coiled at the feet of the mic stands. Black snakes sleeping under shining shoes. Empty cases lean against the wall like suitcases that never go far. The tenor sax hangs from its neck strap, resting between sets like a tired throat. The drummer spins a stick in slow circles, waiting for the next reason to hit. From up here the bar looks smaller, like a fishbowl full of restless gold. The pianist flexes long, thin fingers, shaking old arguments out of the joints in this bandstand tangle. We're nodding to the songs we owe. When the count-off cuts through the chatter, we become the reasons they don't go home. She climbs the 2 steps like a staircase to nowhere, dress catching the light in careful pieces. Tucks her stray hair behind her ear, checks the crowd without letting them know. The jukebox falls silent indifference, hand in the night to real-time wounds. The saxist lifts his horn, nods twice, and breath fills brass like confession. She glances back at the cables at her feet, then forward at the waiting dark. Says from this side you can see everything, and still sings like she's alone in this bandstand tangle. We're nodding to the songs we owe. When the count-off cuts through the chatter, we become the reasons they don't go home. When the last chord hangs without landing, and the amps exhale their tired hum, we'll wind the night back into these wires and hide the magic in old cases. So if you watch us from your table, know we're as tangled as you are. As long as the sax can cut the knot a while, we'll keep stepping into the lights. face yellow, numbers still trying. Somebody broke off time years ago, left a circle as a quiet joke. Tenor sax curls around that empty center, marking minutes no one can see. I sit right beneath it on purpose, letting forever hang over my head. The bartender says he keeps it there, so nobody can claim too late or too soon. Says in here it's just right now until we're done, and polishes another glass into tomorrow. Under a clock with no hands, I lose track of every good excuse. If I stay too long or leave too fast, I can blame it all on broken time. A couple fights softly in a corner booth, whisper sharp enough to cut napkins. The jukebox argues with their tension, offering a song they both once loved. The sax plays for nobody in particular, just filling space that used to feel like future. I look up where the hands should be and see only myself in the glass. She asks if I know what time it is. I point to the naked clock and shrug. Says that explains a lot about you, and laughs like a ticking sound. Under a clock with no hands, I lose track of every good excuse. If I stay too long or leave too fast, I can blame it all on broken time. That stubborn circle, and the room will feel smaller by the minute. Till then I'll love this useless witness that never tells on how long I've been here. So let the hours slip uncounted in a bar that refuses to keep score. As long as the sax keeps turning in place, I'll spin with it, handleless and free. A narrow staircase hugs a sidewalk. Wood once smooth by restless feet. The mezzanine above holds a few small tables, perched like thoughts you don't say out loud. Tenor sax climbs the steps and echoes, softening with each rise and height. I take my drink up to the second floor, where the bar looks like someone else's problem. From here the dancers look like slow coins, spinning through pockets of light. She joins me with two fresh glasses, breath a little shorter from the climb. On the stairs to the mezzanine, we rise just far enough to see. If we lean against this fragile railing, we can watch our lives without jumping in. The waitress below wipes circles in the wood, unaware of the halos forming overhead. The jukebox glows like a tiny planet, orbiting in its corner alone. The sax sounds thinner but clearer up here, peeling away the talking clatter. She rests her elbows on the iron rail, eyes soft with borrowed detachment. Says up here it's almost like a movie, and I'm suddenly aware of my lines. I raise my glass to our small balcony, and she clinks it like a closing scene. On the stairs to the mezzanine, we rise just far enough to see. If we lean against this fragile railing, we can watch our lives without jumping in. Someday the wood might crack beneath us, send us tumbling back into the noise. But tonight the steps remember every story and hold our weight like they always have. So leave this staircase creaking kindly, a crooked path to quiet view. As long as the sass can reach these boards, I'll climb when the ground feels too close. So leave this staircase creaking kindly, a crooked path to quiet views. As long as the sax can reach these boards, I'll climb when the ground feels too close. Near the restrooms there's a photo booth, curtain frayed, light bulb too honest. It coughs out strips of accidental truth, faces caught between poses. Then a sax seeps down the hallway, framing our snapshots in sound. She drags me inside with a dare in her eyes, says let's borrow 4 seconds from time. The flash pops like a tiny explosion, catching us mid-laugh, mid-lie, mid-thought. We cram our history into a narrow frame, pretending we're simpler than we are. On this photo booth strip, we're strangers who look like lovers. If you line the frames up end to end, you'll still miss everything that hurt. The second shot catches her blinking, lashes down like she's dodging truth. In the third, my smile slips sideways, showing teeth instead of joy. By the fourth, we're just 2 silhouettes, washed out by a bulb that tried too hard. The sax outside bends a late blue note, curling under the booth door. She tears the strip with practiced hands, slides half into my reluctant wallet. Says proof we were almost something, and winks before walking back into the bar. On this photo booth strip, we're strangers who look like lovers. If you line the frames up end to end, you'll still miss everything that hurt. Folded paper behind a card I meant to send. I'll squint at our blurred younger faces and hear a sax from another room.
keep swallowing coins, printing lies we're happy to believe. As long as the blues hums down this hall, it'll frame our almost in white.
After closing, the chairs stand on tables, legs in the air like tired dancers. The floor shows every spill and stumble, a map of what we tried to forget. Tenor sax sleeps in its open case, reed drying under a crumpled napkin. The bartender lights one bare bowl, and the room flinches at its own reflection. The busboy drags a broom through the silence, collecting glitter, glass, and guilt. Each stroke erases a footprint, but not the reason it was there. In the last sweep of the broom, our stories gather by the door. They'll be dumped in some unseen bin, but the blues will remember where they fell. She counts the cash with slow, cracked fingers, tips separated from wages like hope from fact. Ashtrays clink in a tired chorus, marching to the sink to be absolved. The jukebox stands dark and hollow, metal saint without its candles. The sax player slings the case on his back and hums a solo he didn't get to play. I finish the dregs of my warm last drink, watching myself in the blackened window. Outside the street yawns into tomorrow, inside the night refuses to end. In the last sweep of the broom, our stories gather by the door. They'll be dumped in some unseen bin, but the blues will remember where they fell. One day this place will be something else, a store, a church, an empty lot. But if you stand where the band once stood, you might still hear a tenor cry. The door behind me and the key its rusty turn. I'll walk away on polished boards, knowing the broom missed more than it caught.